All right, and next up is the clip, the moment everybody's been waiting for. It was so awesome. You guys got to go check it out before coming back to here. I'm basically just going to be like playing the clip and stopping it and giving my thoughts on it. I'm not really going to like play it all the way through for you to like listen to, because I'll get like copyright striked. So go watch it and then come back here and watch my reaction and sort of my deep dive, not reaction, but deep dive and like analysis, because I'm really just going to be pausing it, breaking it down, talking about it, any Easter eggs or anything like that. So I might miss stuff too. I would love to have a conversation about it. So go watch it and then come back here and we will get into the discussion now. So I love this opening. It's of like, you know, the stormy night, and I love the mountain. Like they do the mountain village vibe like really well, because you can hear like the mandolin or like banjo type instrument that's going on. And it definitely passes this like mountain village, sort of like offskirts of the nowhere basically, and it definitely passes that vibe of like, I never really heard it like that before. I've never heard it as a mountain village. I don't know why, but it definitely is a mountain village, and Rafe said that in the panel. So showing off this clip, it definitely shows off the mountain village vibe. I know that was a lot about mountain villages. Let's get into the next part. Next up, we get inside of the Winespring Inn. It is reminiscent of the feel of the Shire, you know, from the Lord of the Rings movies, which I love, and it really captured that feel, because Emond's Field, the Winespring Inn, and all that, they are the Shire of Watts, right? They are the Shire of Wheel of Time, and it's great to see that. So we see Egwene here. She is dressed up in that same garb that we see in the trailer. So this is probably, it's after her ceremony. It's mentioned later that this is after her ceremony, but now she's inside of her parents' inn and she is serving people. You can see that she is serving the village council, who's all probably sitting together, because we can see Tam there, that she's serving Tam, and then we also, I don't know if it's, I have a feeling this isn't the full scene and they took out some shots to make it a little bit faster, but we see some shots with Perrin sitting with Tam, and then Perrin not with Tam, and then Perrin's like over by like Rand now. So like, I don't know how they're doing that, but you know, it's interesting. So yeah, it's either a continuity issue or it is the fact that Perrin, they cut out a few scenes of like Perrin doing something, which I think that's likely. That could be likely as well. We also go to a next shot and we can see it's a whole bunch of women sitting around, so we could guess that's like the women's circle, and then we see a whole bunch of old people sitting around. We could say like Senbui, or you know, somebody like that, and then probably the rest of them are just like regular villagers, but we definitely probably hit on like village council, women's circle. We know who they are. We see them all sitting together at the Winespring. We know who Senbui is. He's over there. Next up, we get to this shot of Egwene, and we can see it's from Rand's perspective. Rand's kind of like looking at her, smiling and stuff like that, and we could definitely see more of the messed up continuity going on here with Perrin sitting at the table and then not at the table, and then Egwene sees Rand and then starts frowning. And I'm thinking that at this ceremony, or at the, you know, whatever, her coming of age and all of that, she realized what she really wants with life, and it's different from Rand's. And Nynaeve knows this as well. That's why we got like the Nynaeve frown when Egwene comes in after Rand looking at her. It's because Nynaeve knows what Egwene wants, and Egwene doesn't want to be with Rand anymore. Or, you know, like, she wants to go out and adventure the world and that sort of thing, so that's her motive. But it's all coming together now of, like, when Egwene walked into the door in the trailer, that's why Nynaeve frowned when Rand was looking at her. And then we also get a frown from Egwene while she's looking at Rand here, because she's already thought about this. She's probably already started making up her mind that she's not going to be with him anymore. So, you know, it's just like, it's letting that slowly start fizzling out, or, you know, it's going to be a point of contention through the first season. And then probably, like it kind of happens in the books, like at the end of this season, it's going to be like, all right, we're not going to be together anymore, right? So that's sort of, sorry, that's kind of a spoiler. But yeah, you can already tell it here. This is probably episode 1, that there is already a conflict within their relationship. So, yep, that's just something to note there. Then Perrin comes up to talk to Rand, which is a great part, because all I'm looking for now, I just want to see performances. I just want to see characters interacting. I want to see Wheel of Time come to life in that way. Trailers are awesome, very spectacle, a whole bunch of things going on. But I love seeing the characters talk together and interact, because we fall in love with the characters. So this was really awesome to see them together and talk and all that sort of stuff. And they're talking about the ceremony, and he's just like, have you heard about the ceremony? Like, what's going on with Egwene and all of that? And then Rand's like, nah, we haven't really talked, so, you know, and Rand's trying to like, or Perrin is like, as a good friend, is just like, hey, you know, she's probably busy, like, don't worry about it. You can see she's like having to serve all these people, like, super busy. I'm sure, like, people are confused of why they haven't talked ever since then, because we could see in the trailer she is like alone basically, but I'm guessing when she comes in she's going to be bombarded with people like congratulating her on the ceremony and stuff like that, and then shortly after she's going to probably start serving and all, and you know, that sort of stuff. So she never really got a time to talk to Rand. I'm sure they said a few words to each other, but nothing about the ceremony or anything like that, because in the ceremony she's figured out that she has to break up with Rand, or she wants to go out and venture the world, and she knows he doesn't want to do that. That's enough on that. We finally get Land coming in, and when I first saw this, I thought it was super goofy. Like, it was just like they were plotting their whole entrance, and like Moraine was like, hey, Land, go in there and to like all of this, like act like this and then announce me and all, and it's like, oh, this is like really weird kind of how this is going on. And then Nynaeve comes up super dramatic and it's just like, name yourself, stranger, and it's like very fantasy in a bad way. But the more that I watch it, the more that because I've watched this trailer a lot, I realize that probably it's fitting for the world, because first off, like, the stranger just comes in busting in, like, we don't know who this is. Like, if they came in all normal, it'd be fine, but he was like, whoom, and then like stood right there, and he was like hooded and cloaked. So I would get why Nynaeve would just like have her knife out basically, or like her hand on her knife being like, name yourself, like, what are you doing here? And also it's Land's first introduction probably to the series, and Land is a very important character, obviously, so for him to name himself is very fitting, I suppose. And then him also announcing Moraine, because he is Moraine's warder, so to announce an Aes Sedai, like, that doesn't sound too far-fetched. But when I first watched it, I was like, this is super goofy, this is weird, this is not how it happens in the books. But I got to understand, and this is going to be one of my like hardest hurdles to get over, is I think there definitely needs to be changes and adaptation and all of that. I definitely have to get rid of a lot of my headcanon and how things actually are playing out, and I need room for adaptation to grow, and then also be critical of that adaptation when it's not done that well, right? So that's me doing it here. I was like, it's kind of done kind of weird, but once we get context of the show, it'll make more sense, because they're going to set up the world a little bit differently than how Robert Jordan did. Still the same world, still probably the heart of the world, but the setup's going to be a little bit different, because going from books to television, you got to set things up differently. They probably set up that Aes Sedai are like super scary and all of that, and like people are worried in the magic and they don't want to mess with magic, and when she comes in, it's very it's weird. So Moraine finally comes in and we see her, and I love that she just like gives Nynaeve like a dirty look and all of that, but I think Rosamund Pike did a very good job performing as Moraine. I was a little scared that she was going to play her like too stern or like stuck up, but she didn't. So, you know, she was a little standoffish to Nynaeve, because Nynaeve is just like coming out here with a knife. But she finally goes to the innkeeper, and she is just like, oh, like, we need a horse, we need our horses to go into a stable, and we need a room, like, can you do that for us? And she was like super nice about it. I'm paraphrasing, you know the trailer, you've seen it, but she's not this like very stern, very like, I don't know, she gave the warm Gandalf feel, which I think was great. That might be controversial to say, but she did, and Moraine is Gandalf basically, a woman Gandalf. So yeah, she gives a very good Gandalf sort of look, sort of feel. She's very nice, but I think the other part, it's just like, it's a little too much for me. They keep upping these lines like this, but the innkeeper is just like, she sees her ring and she's just like, okay, Moraine Sedai, and then like the town is like, oh, and they all look around and it's like, okay, this is a little too much. It was a little too much for me. Even after rewatches, I was still like, that part got me. After some rewatches, I was like, the other parts with Lan and all that, I was like, this is fine. I thought Marcus and Yosha's performance was amazing. I loved it. It was like a few lines, but I loved it. It wasn't over the top or anything like that. Nynaeve's I got used to, Lan's I got used to, but the innkeeper I could never get used to. I was like, this is a little over the top, but that's okay. You know, she's not a main actor. That's fine. Moraine goes about and she goes to that like huge hearth that they have, and she looks around, and we finally get our first look at Matt, which is great. I mean, not our first look, but we finally see Matt for the first time. You know, he's flirting it up, talking to his girl. That's great. But yeah, I'm excited to see Barney Harris, but it's gonna be sad to see him go. And I'm excited to see Donald Flynn in season 2. I've already said that at the beginning. I just wanted to reiterate that. She then looks over at the other boys, and we know her mission. We know what she's here for. She's here to find the Dragon Reborn, and she believes it's one of these 3 boys, especially after the Trolloc attack that will be probably happening later that night. People were speculating, is this Winter Night? I totally think that it is, because for television, you don't really want to like prolong, like you just want to get it started, right? So they're not going to do multiple days of them like hanging around and stuff. Like, she's going to show up, she's going to get a room, they're all going to be like, this is so weird it's happening, and then Trollocs are going to attack. Like, that's how it's going to happen. Maybe Tam and Rand are starting to leave, but I don't think they have dinner over at their house like they do in the books. They could start to leave, and then Trollocs attack, and then Rand has to bring Tam back. And Tam's like injured. I don't even know if they're gonna do that, but we'll see. Yeah, so you know, I think this is Winter Night. I think this is like right before things start going down, because right after they show up, the Trollocs are gonna show up, and then the townspeople are gonna get super upset and all of that, and then you know we'll get our stuff that sort of happens in the books. But I do believe this part is Winter Night, and Moraine's looking at all of them, and then the last scene we see Moraine leaving, and she looks over, and I think she's looking over at Perrin and Rand, and then Rand and Perrin are just like looking at each other like, what the heck? That's probably the next scene that happens. But that's my quick like analysis and all of that. Let me know if I missed anything, guys. I love talking with you in the comments below, so be sure to comment your favorite parts. Also be sure to like and subscribe while you are down there. It helps me out a ton, and I love making content like this and keep bringing it to you guys. So I will see you guys in the next one.